This is Lake Onslow. It was created in 1890 by a dam on the Teviot River, and it was expanded by a bigger dam in 1982. It's 700 metres above sea level, which as far as I can tell makes it the second highest major lake in New Zealand after Lake Tekapo. Just 20 kilometres away is Lake Roxburgh. Lake Roxburgh is only 132 metres above sea level, 570 metres below Onslow. This makes Onslow a perfect location for a pumped hydro station. Pumped hydro works by having two lakes, in this case Onslow and Roxburgh. When the grid needs power, you let water fall from Onslow through a hydroelectric dam into Roxburgh. And when the grid's got too much power, you pump that same water back from Roxburgh up to Onslow. This allows the lakes to act as a battery. With current technology, this allows for about 80% efficiency from the energy you put in to the energy you can take out. So is this a good idea? Last time I talked about this, the cost estimate was more than $4 billion, which wasn't very specific. Now there's an updated cost estimate of $15.7 billion, which is a lot more useful. Let's take that at face value, but my points hold up even if it ends up costing twice that. Onslow could store between 3 and 8.5 terawatt hours. We're going to use 5 terawatt hours because that's what the $15.7 billion number is based on. Doing the math, that gives us a cost per kilowatt hour of around $3. How does that compare to other batteries? Well, these days a lithium-ion battery will cost you around $100 per kilowatt hour. And I really don't see that going below like $25 in the next 10 years when Onslow is meant to be built. Of course, there could be breakthroughs and things like liquid metal batteries could shake this up. But from what we know right now, it's a really good cost per kilowatt hour. But there's a lot more viewpoints to consider. Lake Onslow is about as far as you can get from the major population centres in the North Island. This means you're going to have to pipe the power all the way up there somehow. We already have a HVDC cable coming from Benmore just north of here, but we would probably need to extend that to Onslow, and we might even need to boost its capacity going to the North Island. But overall, I think that would be a worthwhile investment for the scale of the project. And this would give us reasonably efficient transmission. And while we're at it, we may as well extend it all the way to Auckland, right? Compared to a normal battery's pull rate, pumped hydro is incredibly slow. The power plant associated with Onslow will only do about 1,200 gigawatt hours. This means it will take about 6 months to fully empty. Compared with like a Tesla Megapack that can empty itself in a couple of hours, that is crazy. But that's ignoring the problem we're trying to solve here. The problem Onslow solves is the dry year problem. New Zealand has the luxury of a reasonably easy transition away from fossil fuels. And that's because we can use hydro to account for wind and solar's weather dependence, effectively using all our hydro lakes as massive batteries. Just in the Waitaki alone, there's a capacity of 2.5 terawatt hours. However, what happens if we get a dry year with not a lot of rain and we can't refill our lakes? Well, we're screwed. We're back to having to rely on fossil fuels for power. This is the problem Onslow's designed to solve. 5 terawatt hours is way more than we'll need at one time, at least in the foreseeable future. Over 6 months, it's 1/3 of the total energy we will use. So Onslow's pull rate will be plenty enough for the problem it's designed to solve. Another frequent criticism is ecological damage. I'm not really qualified to talk about this, but I had to drive 40 minutes down a terrible dirt road to get here. There isn't somewhere a lot of people are, and it's not somewhere a lot of people are likely to see. People argue it's a waste of money, but I don't see it that way. I see keeping Huntly and Stratford and all the other fossil fuel plants open as a massive expense. And the sooner we can close them in favour of cheap renewable sources like Onslow would be, the better. Especially in a dry year where our fossil fuel dependence will be increased. New Zealand hasn't built a major hydro plant since 1992. We have built major wind, geothermal and fossil fuel plants in that time, but we need something to act as the battery so we can decommission those fossil fuel plants as soon as possible. We need a big investment in energy infrastructure, but I don't think it's fair for that to come from the private sector. Let them do the rooftop solar and the lithium-ion batteries and microgrids and everything else that's coming for that sector. I think we should fund big projects that are unprofitable in the next 10 years, but will eventually pay off for the country. I've done loads of research into this, but I could well have missed something. If you've got arguments against, please put them in the comments. I would love to hear them and I'll reply to as much as I can. Thanks for watching.